Jake was a young cowboy with a heart full of dreams. Each morning, he would pull on his worn boots and head out to the ranch, greeting the cows and horses with a friendly smile. Though he loved the open fields and the smell of hay, Jake often found himself gazing at the distant mountains, wondering what lay beyond them. The world beyond his small ranch felt like a giant mystery waiting to be explored. Every day, while tending to chores, Jake imagined himself on thrilling adventures. He dreamt of riding through forests, crossing rivers, and discovering hidden treasures. Stories from old cowboys always filled his mind with tales of daring rescues and lifelong friendships formed in wild places. But for now, his life revolved around milking cows and mending fences. One bright afternoon, as Jake rode out on his trusty horse, Scout, he felt the usual excitement nudge at him once again. The sun shone high in the sky, casting warm rays over the land. With each gallop, he let go of his daily worries and surrendered to the call of adventure. Little did he know that today would change everything. As he traveled farther than usual, Jake marveled at the beauty around him, the vibrant wildflowers dancing in the breeze and the sweet sound of birds singing overhead. However, something caught his attention, a peculiar rustling noise coming from behind a cluster of trees. Intrigued and slightly nervous, Jake decided to investigate. With Scout by his side, he approached cautiously. His heart raced at the thought of what secrets might be waiting for him in the wilderness. This feeling of excitement filled him as he realized that perhaps today was the day his dreams would start to come true. Adventure was just ahead. As Jake and Scout ventured deeper into the wilderness, the sun beamed down, warming their backs. The wildflowers danced in the gentle breeze, and Jake felt a thrill run through him. He listened to the sweet symphony of nature, the chirping birds and rustling leaves, each sound pulling him further away from the ranch and closer to adventure. Suddenly, as they rounded a bend in the trail, something caught Jake's eye. Nestled among a thick thicket of trees was a small, rustic cabin that appeared to have been forgotten by time. Its wooden walls were weathered, with vines creeping up the sides like curious fingers exploring its secrets. Jake felt a rush of excitement. He had never seen this cabin before. Curiosity bubbled inside him as he guided Scout closer. The cabin looked both inviting and mysterious, urging him to explore its unknown depths. But just as he prepared to approach it, strange sounds floated through the air, soft whispers and faint rustling that sent shivers down his spine. Who could be inside? Taking a deep breath to calm his racing heart, Jake dismounted and tied Scout to a nearby tree. He stepped cautiously toward the cabin, trying to silence the crunching leaves beneath his boots. With each careful step, he wondered what or who awaited him behind those closed doors. Jake peered through one of the dusty windows but couldn't see anything clearly inside. He heard a soft moan followed by a shuffling sound, which made his heart race faster. It was clear that something unusual was happening within those walls. He hesitated for a moment. He could turn back or discover what lay ahead. Adventure was at his doorstep once again, beckoning him to step inside and unveil its hidden mysteries. Taking a deep breath, Jake creaked open the cabin door, which groaned in protest on its old hinges. As he stepped inside, the dim light filtered through dust-covered windows, revealing a cozy but cluttered space filled with mismatched furniture and scattered belongings. In the corner, he spotted someone curled up on a worn-out sofa, an unexpected sight. "Hello?" Jake called softly, trying not to startle whoever was there. To his surprise, the figure stirred and looked up. A young woman with wide, frightened eyes stared back at him, clearly startled by his presence. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jake took a cautious step closer, his heart racing. "I'm Jake, a cowboy from nearby. I found this cabin and I heard noises. Are you okay?" The woman hesitated, glancing around as if checking for hidden threats. "I'm Lily," she finally said. "I've been hiding here." Widely curious now, Jake pressed on. "Hiding? From who?" Lily's gaze dropped to the floor. "From my family. I'm an heiress. They want to control my life and marry me off to someone I don't love." Her voice shook as she spoke, revealing the fear that had kept her trapped in the cabin. Jake felt a rush of sympathy for her. "That sounds awful," he said gently. You don't have to be afraid anymore. You're safe here. Conflicted emotions swirled within him. Here was someone who had lived a life so different from his own, and yet they both craved freedom. As Lily looked up at him, curiosity mingling with wonder in her eyes, Jake realized that this wasn't just an unexpected encounter, it was the beginning of something new for both of them. As they sat together in the cozy cabin, the air thick with unspoken thoughts, Jake felt a need to understand Lily better. He watched her smooth down her dress, her hands trembling slightly as she spoke. I come from a wealthy family, she began, her voice lowering to a whisper. But wealth doesn't mean happiness. My parents want me to marry a man I've never even met, someone who can further their ambitions. Jake listened intently, his heart aching for her situation. But why hide away like this? You should be out living your life, he encouraged gently. Lily sighed, her blue eyes glistening with unshed tears. I tried to escape and thought that by coming here, I could find some peace. Everyone around me always wants something, money, status, but I only want to choose my own path. She looked up at him, vulnerability etched on her face. I didn't want to be trapped anymore. Jake nodded, understanding blooming in his chest. It was hard to fathom a life where choices were taken away because of money and expectations. For him, freedom had always been about open skies and vast fields, yet here sat Lily, shackled by the very things he had never dreamed would be burdensome. You're incredibly brave, Jake said softly. It takes courage to stand against your family's wishes. Lily offered a small smile, finding comfort in his words. Thank you for listening, she replied, feeling lighter as they shared this moment of honesty. In that instant, Jake realized how much he admired her strength. As they continued to share their stories and fears, an unspoken connection grew between them, a bond forged in mutual understanding and longing for freedom. This unexpected meeting was not just about adventure, it was about two souls finding solace in each other amidst turmoil. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow inside the cabin, Jake and Lily settled into a comfortable rhythm. They shared stories about their lives, his simple upbringing on the ranch, filled with chores and the joy of roaming nature, and her lavish but stifling life in the city, where every move was monitored by her family. Jake found himself captivated by Lily's tales of extravagant parties filled with society's elite. It sounds glamorous, he said, trying to picture it in his mind. But was it really what you wanted? Lily shook her head, a soft smile lighting up her face despite the heaviness in her heart. Not at all. I felt suffocated amid all that glitz. I yearned for real adventures, like riding into the sunset with no destination in mind. Her words echoed Jake's long-held dreams. That was always my favorite part, setting out on my horse without knowing where I'd end up, he replied, his eyes sparkling with excitement. The open land just calls to me. As they shared laughter and exchanged more personal stories, they began to feel less like strangers and more like old friends who had known each other forever. Jake told her about working hard on the ranch, dreaming of one day traveling far, while Lily confided that she often painted for peace of mind, imagining vast landscapes she had never seen. With each shared moment, their bond deepened further. They formed an unspoken understanding rooted in their mutual desire for freedom and adventure. Just sitting together felt right, there was a warmth between them that neither had anticipated. As twilight descended upon the woods and stars twinkled to life outside, they both felt an inexplicable connection, a promise of something deeper growing within the walls of that humble cabin. In that little sanctuary away from their troubles, hope blossomed amid shared dreams and whispered hopes for the future. The next morning, as sunlight streamed through the cabin's windows, Jake and Lily began to make plans. They knew they needed supplies to stay hidden and comfortable, so they decided to work together. Their first task was to explore the surrounding area for anything useful. Jake suggested gathering firewood, and Lily nodded enthusiastically. I've never really gathered wood before, she admitted with a shy smile. It sounds fun. With a sense of purpose, they ventured outside, each equipped with a small basket. Jake demonstrated how to identify dry branches and logs while Lily followed closely, imitating his every move. As they collected wood, Jake shared stories about camping trips he had taken with friends, climbing mountains and sleeping under the stars while cooking meals over an open fire. Lily listened intently, her laughter mingling with the rustling leaves. "I've always wanted to experience that kind of freedom," she said, her eyes lighting up. "Life was always too structured for me." Once they returned to the cabin, they set up a small fire in the stone fireplace. The warmth spread quickly, creating a cozy atmosphere inside. They made hot tea using a kettle that Lily had found on a shelf, its surface covered in dust but still functional. As they sipped their drinks, Jake suggested they also gather food from the forest. "There might be berries or wild mushrooms nearby," he said. "We could make a nice meal." With renewed energy, they planned another outing foraging for food. Lily felt excitement bubbling inside her. This was unlike anything she had ever done before. Gathering supplies turned into an adventure filled with laughter and teamwork. Working side by side, Jake and Lily not only prepared their temporary home but also fortified their growing bond. With each task completed, they exchanged glances filled with understanding and camaraderie, the promise of new beginnings shimmering like the sunlight filtering through the trees outside. As the days passed in their serene cabin, Jake and Lily found comfort in their newfound routine. They enjoyed the simple pleasures of cooking together, foraging for food, and exchanging dreams beneath the stars. However, the peaceful atmosphere was soon disrupted when Lily's hidden anxieties returned. One afternoon, while they were outside gathering berries near a stream, Jake noticed a shadow pass overhead. He looked up to see dark clouds gathering, but something else caught his eye, a distant sound echoing through the forest. It resembled voices shouting and calling out names. A sense of dread washed over him. "What is that?" Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake's heart sank as he realized who it might be. "It sounds like search parties," he replied grimly. "They must have come looking for you." Panic flickered in Lily's eyes as she grasped Jake's arm. "What if they find us?" she gasped. The weight of her family's control loomed over her again like an oppressive fog. Jake squeezed her hand reassuringly. "We can hide until they're gone," he suggested, determination edging his voice. They quickly scoured the area for places to conceal themselves and their supplies. As twilight settled in, muffled shouts echoed closer, making Lily's heart race with fear. They retreated into the dense underbrush behind the cabin and listened intently. The voices grew louder, and Jake could feel Lily trembling beside him. The tension hung thick in the air. They both understood the stakes. If Lily was found, she would be pulled from this freedom back into a life she despised. Together, they vowed to protect each other and remain steadfast in their resolve to escape her family's grasp. Amidst this newfound danger, an unspoken determination bolstered their bond further, the desire not just to survive but to carve out a life that truly belonged to them both in this world of wilderness and possibilities. With the night settling around them and the muffled shouts of search parties still echoing in their ears, Jake and Lily found themselves hidden in the underbrush, hearts pounding with fear. The darkness was thick, but they knew they couldn't stay passive for long. They needed a plan to evade capture, one that would keep Lily safe and allow them the freedom they both craved. "Maybe we can create a distraction," Jake suggested, his mind racing with ideas. "We could set a fire in a different spot in the woods to lead them away from here." Lily's eyes widened as she considered the possibility. "But what if it draws too much attention?" she cautioned, biting her lip. Yet there was also an undeniable glimmer of excitement in her gaze. "We'll make it small and controlled," Jake reassured her. "Then we can travel further into the woods where they're less likely to search." Together, they began discussing more detailed plans, brainstorming ways to confuse their pursuers. As they talked, their hands brushed together often, igniting electric sparks between them. With each shared laugh and exchanged idea, their connection deepened. Jake couldn't help but admire Lily's bravery and intelligence. She kept surprising him with her insights and creativity. "I never thought I'd find myself in such an adventure," Lily admitted quietly as they plotted. "I feel more alive than I ever did back at home, like I'm finally taking control of my life." Jake smiled at her words, feeling his own resolve strengthen. "And I want to help you continue that journey." They both knew that a bond had formed between them, one rooted in trust and understanding as well as mutual care. The tensions outside their safe refuge grew into less of a worry as they focused on each other, nurturing feelings that were becoming clear with every passing moment. The plan took shape slowly but surely. They'd need to gather supplies early in the morning while keeping quiet. As the stars twinkled above them like watchful guardians, Jake and Lily leaned closer together in their shared hope for the dawn. A new beginning awaited them not only as fugitives but as partners united by purpose and dreams of freedom. Just as Jake and Lily began to feel a sense of safety in their secluded cabin, dark clouds rolled in, casting an ominous shadow over the forest. The air thickened with tension, and a chill ran through the trees, signaling an approaching storm. "What do you think we should do?" Lily asked, her voice tinged with worry as she glanced toward the heavy sky. Jake furrowed his brow, assessing the situation. "We need to prepare for the worst. Let's gather any loose items outside and make sure our firewood is secure." As they worked quickly, the wind picked up, howling through the trees like a wild animal. Branches swayed violently, and leaves danced around them, creating a chaotic atmosphere. They hurriedly moved inside the cabin, where they could hear the first drops of rain beginning to patter against the roof. Within moments, the sky opened up, unleashing a torrential downpour that pounded against the cabin's walls. The sound was deafening, making it hard to hear anything else. Jake and Lily exchanged concerned glances. They were confined together now, relying on each other more than ever. "Do you think they'll come looking for us in this weather?" Lily asked, anxiety creeping into her voice. Jake shook his head, trying to remain calm for both their sakes. "It's too dangerous for them to be out there. We just have to wait it out." As they settled in closer together for warmth, their bodies instinctively sought comfort from one another amid the storm's fury. The heat radiating between them eased Lily's nerves as she leaned against Jake's shoulder. "I'm glad you're here," she murmured softly. "Me too," he replied, looking down at her with a sincerity that made her heart flutter. In that moment, amidst the chaos outside, they felt a growing closeness that transcended their fears. Hours passed as they shared stories and dreams, finding solace in each other's presence despite the raging storm outside. They realized that together they could face any challenge that came their way. The fierce winds and pouring rain became a backdrop to their deepening bond, a testament to their resilience and connection as they navigated their uncertain future together. When the storm finally passed, sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a golden hue over the forest. Jake and Lily emerged from the cabin, blinking against the brightness as they took in the refreshed landscape. The air was crisp and fragrant, but their hearts were heavy with an unspoken decision that loomed ahead. As they stood side by side, gazing at the tranquil scene, Jake turned to Lily, sensing the weight of her thoughts. "What now?" he asked gently. Lily chewed on her lip as she pondered their options. "We could pack up and go back to the ranch," she suggested hesitantly. "I could face my family and explain everything. Or I could let them drag me back into a life I don't want." Jake frowned, contemplating her words. "But you'd be giving up your freedom," he replied firmly. "You found courage here, Lily, don't let them take that away." She sighed deeply, looking down at the ground littered with fresh leaves and remnants of the storm. "And what about you? You have your own life back at that ranch." He shook his head, determination in his eyes. "I've realized that life's too short to play it safe. I've always wanted adventure, and now that I've found it with you, I don't think I can go back to just milking cows and mending fences." Lily looked up, her heart swelling at his words. "So you would choose to continue this journey with me? Into the unknown?" "Absolutely," Jake said without hesitation. "Together we can create our own path, a real adventure." With newfound clarity between them, they clasped hands tightly, sealing their shared resolve. They would choose freedom over fear, adventure over conformity. Leaving behind their old lives felt like stepping into a world filled with possibilities. As they began packing supplies for their next chapter, excitement surged through both of them. They understood that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, with love blooming amid uncertainty and dreams waiting to be fulfilled in the vast unknown before them. After days of travel, Jake and Lily found themselves on a familiar trail, one leading towards the ranch where Lily's family had begun their relentless search. The weight of anticipation hung heavy in the air as they approached the estate, now cloaked in the golden light of dusk. As they neared the grand mansion, anxiety prickled at their sides. "Are you sure about this?" Jake asked, glancing sideways at Lily. "We could still turn back." Lily took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. "I have to face them, Jake. I can't pretend I want their life anymore." She squeezed his hand tightly, drawing strength from his presence. They stepped onto the main path that led to the front door, heartbeats echoing in their ears like drums preparing for battle. Moments later, the heavy door swung open, revealing Lily's family with expressions of disbelief and confusion. "Lily! We've been searching everywhere for you," her father exclaimed, stepping forward, anger mixed with relief evident on his face. "I'm not going back," Lily declared firmly, looking her father squarely in the eye. "You don't understand what it's like for me, always being controlled and used as a pawn in your plans." Her family exchanged shocked glances, but Jake stepped forward confidently, standing by Lily's side. "She deserves to make her own choices," he added, his voice steady. "You can't keep her trapped." A tense silence enveloped them before Lily's mother finally spoke up. "But we only want what's best for you, dear." Lily shook her head, tears welling in her eyes but standing strong. "What's best for me is my freedom to choose my own path. I found love and adventure here." Fists clenched and brows furrowed, disagreement danced among them, yet it was a moment of truth. Jake and Lily stood united, ready to face whatever wrath lay ahead, filled with an undeniable resolve. In that climactic moment, they knew that whether or not her family could accept her decision was secondary to the bond they had forged, a bond that wouldn't break under pressure. Together they would navigate this new challenge, ready to carve out a life defined by their choices rather than dictated by others. In the aftermath of their confrontation, Jake and Lily stepped away from the mansion, their hearts pounding but filled with a renewed sense of purpose. The sun began to set spectacularly behind them, bathing the landscape in warm oranges and purples, a visual reminder that endings could also be new beginnings. As they walked hand in hand along the familiar trail away from her family's estate, they took a moment to breathe in the freedom that surrounded them. The tension from earlier faded, replaced by anticipation for their next adventure. "Do you really think they'll accept my decision?" Lily asked, casting a glance back at the fading silhouette of her home. Her voice was both hopeful and uncertain. Jake squeezed her hand reassuringly. "It doesn't matter what they accept or not," he replied. "What matters is that we believe in each other." He stopped walking, turning to meet her gaze directly. "You chose your own path today, and you have every right to live it fully." Lily's heart swelled at his words. "I never imagined finding someone who would understand me like this," she admitted with a slight smile dancing on her lips. Jake stepped closer, looking deep into her eyes. "You opened my eyes to what real adventure feels like. It's not just about the places we go, but also about who we share those experiences with." With emotion swirling around them like the colors of the sunset above, Jake leaned forward and gently kissed her. In that moment, everything they had faced together crystallized into clarity. Their love was strong enough to conquer any obstacle laid before them. As they pulled away, their faces radiated newfound determination. "So what now?" Lily asked playfully, raising an eyebrow. "Now," Jake said with a grin, "we follow our hearts wherever they lead us, together." Reinvigorated by their shared hopes and dreams for the future, Jake and Lily set off into the wilderness, ready to embark on their next chapter full of adventures yet to be discovered. For both of them now knew that love was their greatest treasure and would guide them as they explored the vastness of life together.